Welcome back to The Heat. We're talking about the presidential election in Ukraine, which was held over the weekend. Joining me now is Ukrainian Yuriy Gordodnichenko. He is the Associate Professor of Economics at the University of California in Berkeley. Yuriy, thanks for joining us. Let me ask you first, this has been a very decisive victory for Petro Poroshenko, if we look at the exit polls. What does this tell you about what the people in Ukraine want, or most of the people in Ukraine want? They've spoken with a very loud voice here.
Yes, my pleasure to be here. This election results suggest very strongly that people want to see new faces. They do not want to see anybody associated with the previous ruling party, the Party of Region. They also do not want to see people associated with Yulia Tymoshenko or anybody who was responsible for debacle of the Orange Revolution, when internal fighting basically killed the chances of Ukraine to build a free and democratic society.
Right, Poroshenko has the mandate, so what are his priorities?
Well, so he declared his priorities as such. He said that he wants to get rid of corruption, and he's going to fight until the end, until all corruption is eradicated. It's a very challenging task, but I think he may succeed. He also said he wants to direct Ukraine towards Europe. He wants Ukraine to be a part of Europe. I think he's going to be very successful in this. There is a wide demand for this in the Ukrainian society, and also it seems it has a receptive ear in the European community, and they also want Ukraine to be a part of Europe.
What about the crisis in the eastern part of the country? How does he resolve that? How does he defuse tensions there?
Well, one of the things he said when the exit polls came out, he said that he may have his inauguration in the east of Ukraine to show that he is the president of all Ukraine, not just some part of Ukraine. He said he wants to talk to people in the east. He wants to hear their demands. However, he said he is not going to negotiate with terrorists, kidnappers, killers. He also said this anti-terrorist operation Ukraine has now is not going to last for months or years. He said he wants to make it very sharp, very focused. He wants to get rid of this terrorists as soon as possible, to return people to normal life as soon as possible.
And the other thing, he's also said that he's drawn a red line insofar as recognizing the secession of Crimea and its reunification with Russia. He's also said that he's not going to talk with people who are going to bear arms. So he's got some big hurdles to overcome there.
Yes, that's right. So he also said that he is not going to recognize the secession of Crimea. It will probably take many, many years before Crimea returns to Ukraine, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years. From a historical perspective, it's a short period of time, but from a perspective of a usual person, it may be a really long time.
How does he approach the relationship with Russia?
I think in many ways he is very moderate in this respect. Unlike some other candidates, he was very clear that he wants to negotiate with Russia. He wants to have a peaceful resolution. He doesn't have a war with Russia. He wants to have a dialogue and sort of a mutually agreeable resolution to this whole situation. I think what's likely to happen is he will try to negotiate with Russia an acceptable solution for everybody. I don't know what solution will be. The first step should be that Russians should recognize the elections in Ukraine and recognize him as a legitimate president.
I think Russia has already said that it does respect the outcome of the elections and that they're willing to engage in dialogue with the new president. But I guess what will be difficult for Poroshenko is, on the one hand, to establish closer relations with Europe and at the same time not provoke Russia, which in fact led to this crisis in the first place.
Right, so he is a very good businessman. He has very good negotiation skills, and I think he can find the middle ground which will keep the public in Ukraine satisfied and also keep satisfied the sort of Russians and Europeans. He was very clear he wants to have Ukraine in Europe, not in Russia.
Right, but do we know anything about his personal relationship with the Russian President Vladimir Putin? And would it be a wiser course of action for him actually to say, okay, Ukraine wants to be closer to Europe, but we also want to have a relationship with Russia?
I don't know if he has any personal relationship with Putin. They may have something in common. They all practice judo as a sports. Probably Poroshenko is not as active as Putin, but maybe this may be a starting point. Also, there are many examples in history when countries became a part of Europe without threatening Russia. For example, Finland and Austria were countries which became a part of Europe without, provoking Soviet Union to invade these countries. So Ukraine may be just another example like that.
That's right. One of the things that Poroshenko has in common with Vladimir Putin is that they both practice judo, although, as someone pointed out, they fall in different weight classes. His closest rival in this election was Yulia Tymoshenko. She came in a very distant second, getting about 12 or 13% of the vote. What happens to her next? What's her future?
Well, I'm very glad she said that she recognizes the results of the elections and everybody should move. She is an excellent politician with a lot of good instincts and so on. He is a leader of the party. In all likelihood, Ukraine is going to have early elections to the parliament. He runs a party. She is a leader of a party called Batkivshina. She has very good chances to have a significant share of votes. And so she will continue her political career as, a leader of maybe one of the largest political factions in the parliament.
When we look at this election, the far-right parties in Ukraine did very badly. I think altogether they got something like less than 1% of the vote. What does that tell you? And this, of course, comes at a time when the far-right parties in the European elections have made gains.
Yes, I think it's very interesting. The Russian propaganda kept saying that, Nazi or neo-fascist came to power in Ukraine. This election results completely kind of debunk this false claims, right? So Ukrainian society is very moderate. They don't want to have any kind of radical movements. And the fact that these radical parties got so few votes, I think is a very strong signal that Ukraine wants to have a kind of very balanced society. What's interesting is that a Jewish candidate, Vadim Rabinovich, got more votes than these radical parties combined, which I think is very telling.
Yuriy Gordodnichenko, thanks for joining us, sir. Time right now for a break. Next on The Heat, we'll get a Russian perspective. Stay with us.